Nick is multifaceted. The songwriting thing, the music. It's fine. I'm going to sit down. You want to sit here?
I stay up. No.
You're going to stay up?
No, I'm staying up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. I feel bad though. Okay. So, multi-instrumentalist, producing, writing, recording. Yeah. Who in here has some questions? Maybe you heard. Okay, good. Maybe you heard a song, and the thing that happens with creativity is we get in front of things and we see ourselves doing them. So some of you in the room saw yourself singing or playing a guitar or thinking about your own music tonight. And this is a perfect chance to not walk out the door and forget that, but to actually put some words to it and ask someone that's walked through it. Because none of us are better than the other. Some of us have just been more fortunate in our circumstances, or who we met early, or who our parents were that played music, or, everyone's walking a different road, and the creative process needs to grab onto someone else's creative process for inspiration. So that's my goal here.
That was so good. So
yeah.
I want to just start off really quickly, because I actually had some people ask me questions about this, and I want you to tell. There are 3 places on this stage. Can you fill us in why?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, when Josh, and Alice asked me to. Oh, okay.
This is like robot mic.
Okay. When Josh and Alice asked me, did I just call you Alex?
I like it.
New name. When they asked me to do this, they were like, do whatever. Like, you don't have to just come play a bunch of songs. And I was like, oh, whatever I want. So transition music. Yeah. So I had this idea, and I was like thinking about like spaces that I create. And so each spot kind of is representative of a stage, either in the process or just a place that I make things. So you have my studio. I wish it looked that clean, which is where I do a lot of writing and recording. And that whole process is very, very singular and individual, and I wouldn't say lonely, but just a very singular act. And so I wanted to represent that by being by myself. And then coming over to the kitchen table area, it's like I'm sharing a lot of my music with my wife first. And I wanted to show the stage of music where I share, where I share with somebody else, and I bring somebody else into that process. And then this was my live performance. This is the other stage where you take your music out of your house and you bring it to people. And so that was kind of the idea. But behind
That's very
the
theatrical.
spot. Yeah, very theatrical, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My wife is the one that's really brought a dormant theater nerd out of me. I probably would have been like a huge theater kid had I known that was a thing that you could be a nerd about. Yeah.
You have another one?
No.
Let's.
So then you get this back.
All right, cool.
So hopefully I asked this question right, but there's creating art for art's sake, right?
Yeah.
And then and I feel like that's where most of us, that sphere, and then there's creating art for money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a whole other thing, you know, and it's like you have to, there's almost like 2 pursuits. It's almost like 2 different things,
Yeah.
And can you speak to that sphere of like wondering, like, should I create art for money or get into that sphere, or does that change your art? Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah. That's an extremely loaded question. So it's interesting. So part of my job during the day is I work with Josh and I do creative directing. So in some aspect, there is part of my artistic abilities that I funnel into a job. But I think that ultimately where art and money come together, honestly, I think it's a bit of a mystery to me still. I'll use a term that Josh uses all the time, the idea of the adjacent possible, the idea that you can do something and create something, and the result of that creation isn't always the thing that you thought it was going to be. So I didn't think that when I joined Josh in making pedals that it would lead to me doing this. I didn't think that me writing songs would even have any connection with JHS. I didn't think that, and vice versa. And so I think sometimes it's less about like, I don't feel like there's an entirely straightforward answer that I have, but I think that for me, like having music available, ready, creating it, working on it is me putting myself in the path of opportunity, regardless of whether that means someone's like, I want you because of your music, or I want you because I'm working on a project and I want your perspective or whatever. So I think I try to be really open-handed. I was telling my wife the other day, I have an ecosystem in my brain that is a protective mother and a child. And the child is constantly doodling with crayons on the floor and coming up with new ideas and getting us into trouble. And the mom is very stressed about that and wants us to put out a record. And so oftentimes the mom gets very mad at the child and is like, you need to stop getting new crayons out of the thing and play with the old crayons and show people what you do here. And sometimes that can be very toxic. So that's where me, the third party, comes in and goes like, hey guys, chill out. Like, let's not be mean to each other. But the ecosystem is equal parts. I want to kind of parent my art and share it. But I also want to protect the child in me that just needs freedom to create. Yeah. So it's playing between those two things, and I think that money happens somewhere in there, maybe.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It was awesome.
I was just curious about how you come up with your picking patterns.
That's a good question. I'm a drummer, so like naturally, like picking in rhythm is something that I don't know I can like entirely explain it. I never was like the kind of person that was like, I need like a down, down, up, down like chart written out for me. But I watch, it's a lot of like watching and learning and like replicating and like listening to Bob Dylan and going like, okay, I know what finger picking is. How can I make myself sound like that? Or listening to Madison Cunningham and being like, okay, cool, she's so precise. Like, how do I get more precise? And so I think, yeah, it's kind of just chasing inspiration from honestly, other artists that I just find really interesting and trying to just steal as much as I can without getting caught. Yeah. What's up, dude?
Hey, man. How are you?
I know you.
Yeah. So one of the things that really strikes me about your songwriting is your rhythm, which you just talked about, right? But one of the things that really strikes me about is the phrasing, especially on songs like Spiders.
Yeah.
Which is sounds incredibly complicated, at least to me, as a listener,
Sure.
but it's so listenable and great. And I look at other drummers first, that become songwriters like Dave Grohl, Levon Helm, Don Henley, Phil Collins, et cetera, et cetera. And I wonder how that kind of influences or how that plays into you as a songwriter, and then what that means, I guess. How that influences you as a songwriter, and what kind of influence the other, drumming or
Sure.
songwriting or both? Right?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like with the like a song like Spiders, for example, that was one of those songs that kind of popped out of my brain in like 15 minutes. That was one of those like I woke up. Legitimately the progression of that song is a thing that really happened. I was just documenting a really odd morning I had when I woke up. I had a dream about going to my basement and seeing dead spiders on the floor, and then I actually went to my basement and saw dead spiders on the floor. And so like reality and my dream were it was a really trippy morning. Like it was really weird, and all of the things in it happened. There were dogs, but I was woken up by the dogs. The sheets were cold. The sun was coming through the window, and I was just in when I wrote it, I legitimately sat on it for such a long time, like 8 years. I sat on it for 8 years before I recorded it because I thought it was just so weird. I just thought it was too weird. I did not get it. But to speak more specifically to the thing you actually asked me, I really love I love like wordplay and rhythm, and I like if you can. It feels like playing, like when you can try to like cram words together in a way that feels like really rhythmically satisfying. I don't know if I put the drumming and the lyrical phrasing together as like, I don't know if my brain knows that those things are connected, but like maybe they are. I just enjoy like, there are times where like I will just sometimes write nonsense that just has a good like like, you know, like that has that vibe, you know. Even sometimes when I write, I will record like a mumble track. So it'll just be like that. Okay, that's the rhythm, that's the melody. I don't know what the words are, but then I'll listen back and spiders lying on the floor. Like it just I can start like slotting them into a rhythm that I've built. So sometimes it does happen like that, where it will be, here's a mumble track. Here's my kind of like word scat salad that's just like nonsense. And then I'll go in, maybe a couple words are there, and I'll just build off of that and start slotting in lyrics. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Good question.
Cool.
Oh, we stood up at the same time, coming in hot, like a fajita. Yeah.
Like a lottery?
Yeah. Oh, did you have one? Yes. Go.
Yeah.
It's your turn. Run. Just kidding. Don't run.
It's too dark. I don't run. I'm too tall.
Hi. I'll stand up.
What's up, dude?
Back the corner. I've been trying to figure out how to phrase this question the entirety of the Q&A. So I'll just share a little bit of my experience and then ask you if you have that too.
Yeah.
I hate every song I've ever written. Like so much so that I've forgotten 95% of them and they're just gone forever.
Yeah.
And then when I play them in front of people, it's usually close friends, and they're like, "That's a good song," and I think they're lying because they're just being kind because they love me.
Yeah, yeah.
So how do you decide when something that you create is actually worth sharing
Sure.
and that you like it enough to continue to play it and sing it and show it to the world, and then have a confidence in what you've created beyond just like, I think there's something in there.
Yeah.
There's a question in there somewhere that hopefully you can
I hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. My confidence in the songs that I even played tonight shift. Like yesterday, I wasn't really confident in them. The last 3 weeks, I've been practicing these songs, and I've gone through times where I was like, no, this is not good. And I think that shift, I've done that shift enough to just kind of push through. The question about like, how do you know when something's worth sharing or worthy of sharing or whatever? I don't know if you ever know. Unfortunately, like, I hate to burst your bubble. I don't think you ever like fully know. I think, I'll say in my experience, there are times where like I have abandoned ideas early on in the creating phase because I'm like, no, I'm not feeling it today, and I'll like move on to something else. I think a really good practice for songwriting is always be recording, just like always record. Like I said, Spiders was a song I was not confident in it at all. I set it on the back burner, and 8 years later, I was digging through memos, and I listened to it, and I finally had enough experience, and my tastes had developed enough over time to actually understand like that, like what I had written was good. And I listened to it, and there was other musical context that I had gotten up until that point that like put my own idea into perspective for me. So I think like anybody here working on any creative project, like documenting and keeping your projects and knowing that it might not be a today or this year song. It might be something. I think about it like throwing gold in your backyard. Like close your eyes, throw gold in your backyard, and like you'll find it. Maybe you'll find it later. And so I have just the most heinously unorganized voice memos on my phone with just so many things in it. And there are things where I'll listen to it and be like, this sucks so bad. And then stuff where I'll listen back and I'll be like, wait, yeah, let's go. Like, let's do this. Let's pull this back out. And so I think the confidence and knowing, I don't think you ever know. I think that you just go through the cycle. I think creativity is more like a cycle than this linear thing. It basically starts off with, at the top of this cycle, it's, I'm so excited and art is amazing and I love expressing myself, to I'm going to execute, to I'm terrible at this. This is the worst thing I've ever heard, to maybe this isn't so bad, back to art is amazing and incredible and I love it. And you just, the idea is just go around that hoop a ton of times. And eventually you get really good stuff out of it. And you learn that the doubt is just part of the cycle and it's not the end of the road.
It's really good. Let's give Nick a huge
Thank you, guys.